Last week we looked at every Premier League club's greatest ever free agent signing, so that got us thinking, who else could be on the move for absolutely nothing next summer? Here is one player each Premier League team could lose on a free next year. Arsenal, Aaron Ramsey. Last summer Arsenal lost Jack Wilshere on a free, so could they lose another influential midfielder in 2019? Aaron Ramsey's contract at the Emirates is set to expire, despite being a pretty prominent figure for Unai Emery's side this season. The Welshman will surely get himself a new contract before the summer, but could be weighing up his options in January if a new deal hasn't come his way. Ramsey has been with Arsenal for 10 years now, and his Gunners' career has had everything from near career-ending injuries to cup-winning goals to no Premier League titles. Emery is trying to kickstart a new era at Arsenal, but does Aaron Ramsey feature in his long-term plans? Bournemouth, Artur Boruc. The Polish stopper could be without a club next summer, as his deal at Dean Court looks set to come to an end. Boruc spent a couple of seasons as the Cherries' number one, but since the arrival of Asmir Begovic, he hasn't had a sniff of Premier League action, so may take his chance to find himself a new home where he can actually play some games rather than just warm the bench. At the age of 38 though, nobody would be surprised if the former Celtic stopper just called time in his career and hung up his gloves for the final time. Brighton, Glenn Murray. At 34 years old, it's amazing how many goals Glenn Murray is still capable of scoring. The forward has been unstoppable since rejoining Brighton in 2016, initially on loan, but he only agreed to deal at the Amex until the summer of 2019. Murray has had no issues with stepping back up to Premier League football, scoring 12 times last season, as well as starting the new campaign in fine form, and it's been his goals that have made the Seagulls look like a credible Premier League team. Despite his age, it might be considering a risk if Brighton were to let Murray go for nothing, especially when he's shown no signs of jumping off the goal trail anytime soon. Burnley, Jeff Hendrick. The Clarets did a good piece of business a couple of years ago when they brought Jeff Hendrick to Turf Moor from Derby County, but he only signed a 3-year deal with the club. We are now in that third year, meaning Hendrick might be sweating on a new deal from Sean Dyche. Hendrick has proven to be a proper Sean Dyche player since arriving at the club, and has taken to Premier League football well, although I'm sure Burnley fans would like to see a few more goals from the Republic of Ireland international. Hendrick cost a club record fee when he arrived in 2016, and you'd imagine Burnley would like to keep him around. Cardiff, Aaron Gunnarsson. Had Cardiff City not won promotion at the Premier League last season, Aaron Gunnarsson would already have left the club apparently. But following a second place finish and automatic promotion, Gunnarsson agreed a new 1-year deal with the Bluebirds. However, fans are yet to see what Gunnarsson can do in the Premier League this time out due to injury, and a certain section of fans are pining for the midfield powerhouse to return from injury sooner rather than later. But considering he was apparently so keen to leave if they didn't go up last season, will he really hang around and sign a new deal if Cardiff go back down to the Championship? Chelsea, David Luiz. The love affair between David Luiz and Chelsea has been an interesting one, and one that has seen a lot of money spent over the years. The Brazilian is now in his second spell with the Blues, having briefly went to France to play for PSG. Luiz returned in 2016 though, signed by Antonio Conte to complete his unfinished business with Chelsea. He would pick up a Premier League winners medal and dazzle at the same time, but last season fell out of favour at Stamford Bridge. But now that Maurizio Sarri is in charge, Luiz is back in the first team picture and surely won't be allowed to leave the club for nothing in 2019, with contract talks reportedly set to start. Luiz isn't the only big player in the final year of his contract though, with Olivier Giroud and Cesc Fabregas' deals also set to end next summer. Crystal Palace, Jason Puncheon. A former Crystal Palace captain, Jason Puncheon's career at Selhurst Park took a turn for the worse in January. The midfielder suffered a cruciate knee ligament injury against Manchester City which ruled him out for the rest of the season, and the next campaign he's out of the first team picture completely. Puncheon has featured in cup action, but was also linked with a move away from the club during the summer. So it seems like Roy Hodgson wants nothing to do with Jason Puncheon, so he'll likely try and sell him in January or lose him for absolutely nothing next summer. Everton, Leighton Baines. The left back is pretty much an Everton legend nowadays, but all good things must come to an end. Leighton Baines has been an Everton player since August 2007, joining for £6 million from Wigan. Since then, Baines has made the left back position his own, combining defensive solidity with textbook set pieces and penalties to match. But Baines is now 33 years old and saw a younger model arrive in the summer in the shape of Lucas Digne. The Frenchman is immediately settled in at Goodison Park, which can only be bad news for Leighton Baines. Marco Silva is in charge of the new era at Everton and might have to be ruthless and let Baines go for nothing next summer. Fulham, Stefan Johansson. The Norwegian first made his name at Celtic, but got a crack at Fulham by agreeing a 3-year deal with the Cottagers in 2016. Johansson immediately showed his class in the Championship, performing well in both of his seasons in the second tier. But now he's in the Premier League, and things aren't as easy for Johansson, and he's now part of a midfield that boasts the likes of Jean-Michel Seri and Frank Zambo-Anguissa. The money being pumped into Fulham right now means there's a lot of players coming and going, so could Johansson be the next to be going? He'd certainly improve a lot of Championship midfields if he does go. Huddersfield Town Laurent Depoitre. The Terriers signed two big Burnley forwards last summer, Steve Mounier and Laurent Depoitre. They both have had success in the Premier League, but Depoitre might not be there for much longer. The Belgian signed a 2-year deal at the John Smith Stadium when he arrived, scoring 6 goals in his first season, including a famous one against Manchester United. Depoitre was a club record signing for Huddersfield at the time, but should he be rewarded with a new contract? Huddersfield fans, let us know in the comments below. Leicester City Wes Morgan. The last contract Wes Morgan signed was with Captain Morgan's Spiced Rum, and while we don't know how useful that contract's been for the Leicester defender, we know his contract at the King Power Stadium is set to expire in 2019. Morgan was a titan at the back during the title-winning campaign, and was the man that got to raise the Premier League trophy aloft. But is his time at the club coming to an end? Morgan is now 34 years old, and the Foxes have got a few centre-backs who would be considered better than him, so it might be time for the fairy tale to end next summer. Liverpool Daniel Sturridge. The injury-ridden forward is basically playing for his Liverpool career right now. Last year it looked like Sturridge's time at Anfield was over, going on loan to West Brom, but despite 0 goals for the Baggies, Sturridge is back in the picture at Liverpool and scored in the Champions League triumph against PSG with his head. Sturridge is never going to be first choice at Liverpool ever again, but he's a handy backup when fit. But can he do enough to earn himself a new deal at Anfield? Or does the forward himself see his future away from the club? Manchester City Vincent Kompany. There's a very real chance that Mr Man City Vincent Kompany could leave the club next summer. With all the money they've spent on centre-backs in years gone by, Vinny Kompany has been the one constant and a key component in becoming an incredible top-tier side. The skipper has lifted 3 Premier League titles and at one time had to be considered the best in the world, but things are changing at Man City and Kompany's body isn't getting any younger. The 32-year-old is not best suited to Guardiola's style of football, but remains an integral figure to the City operation. So will Pep reward his captain with a new contract, or will he get ruthless and let him go like he did Yaya Toure? Manchester United Luke Shaw. The left-back's time at Manchester United has not been without controversy, but things finally seem to be picking up for Luke Shaw. The defender suffered a horrific leg break and then some harsh treatment from Jose Mourinho, but Shaw finally seems to be back to his best. However, that doesn't mean his Manchester United future is secure. His contract at Old Trafford is set to expire in 2019, so will he still be wanted in Manchester? Or better still, does he want to stay there? It's not like his time there has been fun really. The Red Devils have got a canny few players whose contracts are set to expire in the summer, but Luke Shaw is certainly one player who's worth tying down. Newcastle United Mo Diarmi. No one really cared when the Magpies signed Mo Diarmi from Hull ahead of their campaign in the Championship, and even in the second tier, Diarmi did little to impress in black and white. It was only in the second half of last season that the Senegalese international really proved his worth. Alongside Shelvey, Diarmi was a man possessed, helping drag Newcastle up the Premier League table and towards safety. Sadly, we're yet to see the same Diarmi this season, which certainly reduces his chances of getting a contract extension at St James's Park. Southampton Stephen Davis. This is the midfielder's 7th year at St Mary's, but it could possibly be his last. Davis arrived from Rangers following Southampton's promotion to the Premier League and has been a consistent performer in the middle of the park under various different managers. Now aged 33, Davis has had limited opportunities at the start of the campaign under new boss Mark Hughes and was recently caught on camera saying he'd like to return to Rangers. So if the stars align, that could happen next summer for absolutely nothing. Tottenham Toby Alderweireld. Okay, so the contract situation surrounding Toby Alderweireld can be confusing. Basically, the Belgian's deal at Spurs comes to an end this summer. However, in his contract, Tottenham have the option to extend the deal by an extra year if they wish, but triggering that extension means Alderweireld will have a buyout clause activated worth just £25 million. So basically, Daniel Levy needs to get his skates on and tie the defender down to a new contract that won't see him lose one of his best players for either absolutely nothing or a fee that is well below his value. Watford Aurelio Gomez. The Brazilian stopper saved his reputation by moving to Watford a few years ago, and we actually named him the Hornets' best ever free agent signing the other day. But now he could potentially leave the club on a free as well. Gomez is now second choice at Vicarage Road behind Ben Foster, who started the season in fine form, while Gomez sits on the bench wondering what he's done to be dropped. At 37 years old, Gomez might have at least one more season in him between the sticks, but it'll be spent on the Watford bench if he signs a new deal with the club, so he might have to look elsewhere. West Ham United, Andy Carroll. In 2013, West Ham signed Andy Carroll on a permanent deal and gave him a massive 6-year contract. And finally, that deal is set to come to an end this summer. As always with Andy Carroll, his time with West Ham has been hampered by injuries, mixed in with his usual target man performances, also with an eye for the spectacular and the odd overhead kick. But it's hard to see why Carroll would be kept at West Ham, as surely his wages aren't worth it if he can't keep fit and score the goals he's paid to score. With West Ham trying to be sexier and play the West Ham way, whatever that means, Carroll looks out of place at the London Stadium, so we're all going to have to prepare for a summer of rumours of him going back to Newcastle on a free. And finally, Wolves, Dominic Iorfa. This was a little bit of an anticlimax. With all due respect to Dominic Iorfa, we had some big players on this list, and sadly he isn't one of them. The defender came through the club's academy, but maybe hasn't kicked on as much as many expected him to do since he first broke onto the scene at Molineux. For some reason, Iorfa wasn't in the team photo at the start of the season, and I can't even find him on the club's website, so I think it's safe to say he'll be leaving in the summer when his contract expires. So that's one player each Premier League club could lose on a free next summer. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.